Welcome to Ben Snap and Chat, the podcast where we talk about what happens when life doesn't go according to plan.
I'm Cristie.
And I'm Drake.
And around here, we believe that even when life bends us, it doesn't mean we're broken.
Let's get into it. Man Space, the final frontier. This is episode 12, Cristie. What are we doing?
It's very exciting. We're celebrating number 12. So what are we doing today? We are talking about something a little different today.
We are boldly going where two EDSers probably have never gone before.
And we are calling it the Z-Files.
This is, you know what I was thinking though? Since this all has become, we're talking about UFOs and paranormal phenomena today.
Yes.
So, this has blown up so exponentially over the past week that I think we should probably have a Z-Files at least once every 2 months or once every month.
Honestly, I love that. Hopefully the people will love it just as much as we do.
I hope so too.
Because honestly, we're kind of on this thing where we've had to retape a couple of our episodes.
Well, we've had some technical difficulties. Technology's been really weird, as a lot of these things, they constantly upgrade and then it screws everything up, and then you have to download what the new thing is, the new drivers are, and then you have to get rid of the old stuff, and then you have to learn how to use the new thing. This never changes, by the way.
It really doesn't. But then last time when we started to tape this episode, you lost power.
I know. We had 3 or 4 glitches. Weather. It was just awful. So anyway, this time I think we're okay. Hopefully everybody can hear us okay.
Yes.
Keeping in mind we have had a couple of technical problems, which has been really like Ghost in the Machine kind of weird stuff. Great really episode for talking about the Z-Files today.
It's very fitting.
Oh, it's just been really bad lately. It's been like, and everybody I talk to, and I'm sure our listening audience out there, which is growing, by the way. Ooh, thank you everybody for tuning in and listening. And I'm getting comments from strangers. I don't know who these people are. Yeah.
And I love it.
Well, they're not really strangers, are they? They're kind of like family. They're becoming
part of the community.
The Ben Snap and Chat community.
Yeah.
Somebody was making fun of our name on Facebook, by the way.
Were they? I didn't see
somebody's
that.
Like, Ben Snap and Chat, what the fuck is that? I'm like, oh my God. Don't you just hate people today?
Oh my goodness.
I'm hoping for an alien invasion so those fuckers will come and take me. I'm ready to go. I'm just saying, like, people are getting on my nerves. And then there's the online. I think we should not have a Ben Snap and Chat Facebook page. I really think we need to go to Instagram, because the Facebook, whole society around Facebook has become like so toxic.
I mean, in a lot of groups, I definitely see that.
Yeah.
But I also see a lot of like really amazing comments, and I've gotten some like awesome emails and messages from people.
A great cranky old Grandpa Simpson, sorry. Get off my lawn. I can do his voice too. So anyway, so that it's always nice. We should be doing this little rap thing at the beginning of this. Is kind of new. This is the new space. This is like the free and easy. We're chatting about something, we're telling everybody how much we love them, and thank you for listening to us. Thank you for all the feedback, and maybe we should start doing shout outs to people.
I would love that.
I think it's a really good thing.
I got a nice message from Natalie the other day.
I got a great message from Ernest and James. Shout out to Ernest and James. Yeah, my friends Ernest, they've all been listening, and I'm going to shout out people every week. I'll shout out a couple of people, but thanks guys for listening, and we really appreciate you having you on board. And who did you have again?
Natalie.
Yes, I read
really
Natalie's.
I forwarded that to you because it was such a nice message. Her husband is a stoma nurse.
Yes, I know. And there was these really cool things for sex. It was really cool. Yeah.
I was like, thank you. Like,
somebody that's like totally like minded like us, right?
Yes.
When you're in a bad situation, what do? You dress that shit up. No pun intended. Thanks, Natalie. That was a good one. Yes, we should post it somewhere. We should do an
Definitely.
episode on that digestive stuff. I hate to go back to
Oh, I know.
the mechanics of this awful stuff, but we should, and have
Because it
people's.
affects so many of us,
It does.
honestly.
Oh, I don't want to talk
It
about it. We're
just
not going to
yeah.
talk about shit
That's not
today because this is like
no, this is not the
at the
episode.
at the 5 minute mark. We got to be talking about our. That'll be the deal from now on. How about this?
Okay,
We do
first 5
everything on the
minutes.
fly, right?
I
We
know.
just create on the fly.
People
5
are
minute mark.
joining
Look,
us.
we're coming. We got 6 minutes, 5 seconds left, and then we're going to be talking
And then we
about
need
the Zen
to
files.
Yes.
So this is
The
crazy.
Zen
There's stuff
files.
going on. Did you see about the meteors?
No, I thought you were gonna talk about the that post that you sent me with the alien,
The
the
four
four
different kinds of aliens?
yeah, that
Okay,
were
so apparently, there's 4 different types. Okay.
that
One of my friends, one of my close friends, swears that they seen one of
like
the
in
lizard
per like
lizard people. I'm not
oh, like
joking.
a
So
reptilian.
yeah. So when I seen this on the actual news, like this was
Yes.
on one of the news sources
Yes.
and a big one. And I
It
was like,
is.
"Oh, they're talking about 4 different species. And now
Yeah.
I've come in contact with 2
Ooh.
of those 4. Oh, people are going to think I'm nuts, but when
Well,
you experience it, you experience it, and that's just the way it
yes.
is. And I
Yeah.
have been contacted twice, maybe 3 times that I can remember in the past probably 15 years. It's been recent.
Yeah.
So there's been a lot of contact lately everywhere. There's multiple accounts of orbs. Like orbs are everywhere.
Which is super interesting. I kind of went down this deep dive of watching like Roswell and Area 51, and the one thing that I kept on seeing like a connection to, which I think might be what's happening now as well, is it seems like they always make appearances in times when there's like nuclear weapons and nuclear technology.
And big
Like, it's just very
disturbances.
bizarre, the connection, like, and so now with the world on fire and the crazy wars and everything, and
Yeah.
look who's in the White House with the nuclear codes,
Well,
like
I don't know. I'm not. I always look at conspiracies and I always look at stereotypes because these
Yeah.
things do exist for a reason.
Yes.
There's some type of tangibility of why these things start
Yeah.
in the beginning. Now, is it like the Fabergé Organics commercial where 2 friends told 2 friends that told 2 friends and the story's completely different by the time it gets to the other end of the line? It's humanity. So yes, that's the way it happens, right?
Yeah.
There's bias in everything.
But there's so many encounters around the world
Yeah.
that are very consistent, not
Yes.
only in how they feel, but how visually they look.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
that's something that, like, yeah, I'm not a big conspiracy theorist. I wouldn't consider myself one. But, like, the reality is, in the vastness of our many universes, like, we can't be the only intelligent life form, right?
Oh
Like,
God, I hope not, because I'm just gonna go like walk in the lake and not come back. If that is the case, if we are the only, I hate to say even intelligent, because I really don't think we're that intelligent, to be honest. I'm really thinking that if something, imagine coming here right now, imagine never being here
Flying over.
before, okay,
Yeah.
and suddenly you fly in and you fly over like Gaza and Israel and Lebanon,
Oh my God.
and you're over Iran, and then
Yeah.
you've got Russia
Yep.
and Ukraine at it. And then in the US, you've got a
Yes.
circus going on.
A
Like a
complete
literal,
circus.
and we're
Literal.
beyond. And you know what? These people in the US have been paid off to shut up, and the midterm elections are going to be a disaster. I'm going to make a prediction right now that the Republicans are going to win,
Oh God, please
W-I-N,
no.
win in quotes,
Mm.
the midterms. Because all of this has been paid for, people paid for by about, I don't know, 5 or 10 rich people that ran Epstein Island and everything else that we do, including the music industry and everything else they know about.
The
They
power.
know about what we're talking about today.
Definitely.
And so the White House has been pushing this stuff out on the US.alien or something.org. It's
Yes.
from the actual US government, which is like, I hate to refer to anything to do with them.
I know.
But they have released a pile of footage. Now, it's footage that as I said before, this will segue into my story for the
Yeah.
episode. It's footage, nothing. It's the same as what I seen here above the cottage
Yeah.
like 2 years ago, this coming December. So it was no surprise to me when I seen that. I went and looked it and watched it all. Now there was some stuff there that the U.S. Air Force pilots have seen.
Yes, a
And
lot.
people on planes have been taking pictures of things too. So there's
Aviation,
been
yes.
a lot, but the one big thing is the orbs. Okay, so they say, "Oh,
Yes.
they're drones." It's like, okay, people, no. You always have to do your research. Okay,
Yeah.
you can't believe what people just say it is. If people say they're orbs or people say they're drones, then you do have to go and try to figure it out for yourself.
Yeah.
So I did this, especially after I seen one.
Exactly.
So I'm like looking into this, and it's like, yes, there was drones there chasing after the orbs. They're trying to figure out what the hell they are.
Definitely.
The government is trying to figure it out.
Well, I even saw a clip of President Obama talking about how they do have this information.
And Reagan too.
And like
and Carter. So Carter was another one. Did you know?
No, but it doesn't surprise me.
There's so much. The thing is, you could never do all the research in the past. We've been planning this episode for a few weeks.
Yeah.
But you could never research it all. There's so much.
So
Carter
much.
was in on this. Carter was in on this. Reagan, Obama. There's been so much. And it's like, people are just so oblivious to this. I mean, until it happens to you folks, I mean, you can just take it as hearsay and things like that. But when it's put right in front of you, it is just downright astounding what's happening right now.
Do you think people are afraid, and that's why they're just like, nope, I don't want to see or think or like
I think
even acknowledge.
I think we're programmed to do certain things. Get up, make coffee, stumble out the door, be staring at your phone, do this is the way it kind of goes right now from what I feel from everybody. You do the least amount of work you can possibly do because you're mentally fucked and you're completely exhausted and you can't, and I'm keeping it real here, people, because that's what people like about this podcast is that there's no shit on this podcast. We're all in a fucking mental mess right now. And people are just barely surviving. So I don't think people have the time or the mental energy anymore to be able to even consider this. And that is part of creating chaos. So if you want to suppress people, you create chaos, you tire them, and you mentally fatigue them, and you overwhelm them, and then you control them. Don't forget that.
It's exactly how abuse works.
Exactly.
Like it's the same way that controls on a one-on-one relationship.
Yes.
And it's the same tactics that are being used that we see, that many of us can see are being used.
Yeah.
Especially in the US right now.
Yeah. So just, to keep on topic and not talk too much about the politics, but there are a certain amount of power and politics involved in this. There has to be, and we know there is. Because what they're trickling out right now is they're just giving us crumbs.
Yes.
And the UAP world or the UFO world or the people that are like us who are always questioning this stuff, we know there's more. There's more than this. And they know more than this.
The fact that, what was it, like 22 scientists in like aviation, nuclear, gravity, like anti-gravity type stuff that have either disappeared, that have like unalived themselves, or like that's has to be some kind of evidence that that's happening for a reason.
So unalive is a term you have to use on YouTube now. You cannot say the S word. If you say the S word, they'll suppress you. So we have to remember this when we're going on video.
That's one of the reasons why I use the term, because
you're trying to get used to it.
Yeah. I'm trying to get used to it. Yeah.
To train your brain into saying non-alive.
Yeah.
And you can't say the D word either.
No, which
it's
might
so
be
weird. We've
difficult
become a society that we can't talk about anything anymore. Everybody is so super sensitive about everything. We're so oversensitized now that everything needs to be shut down. And now understanding, we're having to learn how to understand things another way, which is difficult when you're already in a crisis.
Exactly.
And you can't say suicide.
Right. Or death.
Both of which are a great factor in this lifetime for many people.
They are. And honestly, I think, unfortunately, it affects a lot of people in the EDS society, like in the EDS community, because we live with such high levels of chronic pain and symptoms.
Yeah.
But anyways, before we dive more into that, like,
Well, we're gonna do an
I'm
episode. We're gonna do
curious.
an episode
Yeah,
just based on chronic pain, and we want
for
it just
sure.
to be we're gonna be a pain in everybody's ass for a whole hour.
Yep.
It's one of my favorite things to do.
That's what gets you up in the
That's
morning.
what gets me up in the morning. And some of my friends are laughing right now because they know what I mean.
Oh, it's too
Anyway,
funny.
so we're always keeping it real here, folks, and let's get back into this. So, what happened to me? So it
Yes.
was the middle of my crisis. I had just had. I'm trying to think. Yes, I had had my first 2 Atlas adjustments,
Adjustments, okay.
and my nervous system was still on complete
Fire.
overdrive. And
Mhm.
some EDS people that are listening to this are going to understand. You know what I'm talking about.
Yep.
What it feels like to be an EDSer for the people who don't have EDS. So you have this. Think about you walk out of your bedroom, and it's the only way out of your house, and the only way out there's a massive fire.
Yeah.
So the way you feel when you see the fire, that's the way we feel all the time, just so you understand.
Yeah.
So after you knock your Atlas a couple of times and your vagus nerve gets undisrupted and it's sitting there raw, what's happened to me was one night I was sitting up here in the loft, and the loft has got on one side is a studio here where we podcast and music and TV. It's a multimedia area here, which we've built over the past few months, even bigger. And then the other side is the bed. We
Yes.
sleep up here, and that's our living space, basically, where we hang out and stuff like that, which is really nice up here.
It's
So
honestly like the most cozy
part of the
cabin in
house.
the woods. Like,
Yeah.
and being in the loft, like,
It's nice
it
up here.
really is.
Now we
It
got
is.
we got those new IKEA chairs, like the one you have in your living room that I like
Ooh,
so
you
much.
just
I
got
love.
those.
They're so nice. Oh my God. I'm
They
rocking
really are
myself. I'm like
comfy.
an old grandpa. But anyway, so I'm sitting in my chair. I can't sleep very well because the nervous system is so much on overdrive. I can't actually sleep. So I'm up
Yeah.
at like, it's 2:30, it's 3:00. Michael's long in bed. He can sleep with me watching TV. I was just up random watching YouTube, but I had this weird feeling come over me, and I stood up out of my chair and I walked over to the bed where Michael, and I stood at the end of the bed like some weird stalker
Yep.
and just stared at Michael, which I never do this stuff. Okay. So this is really strange for me.
Like, it was a weird compulsion.
It was weird behavior. Yes.
Yes.
And then I'm like, is this drugs or something? Like, what is this? Because I was on a couple of different things at the time,
Yep.
but like, I don't feel like stoned or anything. I don't feel abnormal. And
Okay.
so I'm standing there staring at Michael. I'm going, what am I doing? In my brain, I'm hearing my own voice going like, what am I doing here? Why am I standing here? And then I turn around and I walk out of the bedroom and down the stairs, and I put my jacket and my boots on, and I even put a hat on, and I walk down the driveway. And at the end of our driveway, you can go left to go out down the road and up the main road, or you can go right up to our neighbor's place because it's only them and us on the road.
Yeah.
So I started to walk up towards the neighbors, and all of a sudden something told me to stop. It was like, just stop. So I stopped, and then something said to turn to my right. And when I turned to my right, of course, I was facing the cottage.
Yes.
The side of the cottage. And because the front of the cottage faces the neighbor's part of the road.
Yeah.
On the corner. And anyway, there was this massive blue ball of light that was above our bedroom. We had the slope pitched roof, and the roof is blue metal, and I could see this glow. And then I thought, in my mind, I could hear myself say, that's the cell tower. But the cell tower is down the road and it's red.
Okay.
Like, so wait, now that's not the cell tower. And before I could even get that thought out,
yeah,
this thing grabbed a hold of me in some weird, it was like I wasn't in the driveway anymore.
Okay.
And I was like prone position, like, oh my God, like hands up and stretched out, and like just in the prone standing position, like almost bent.
Wow.
And I was suspended, and I could feel, and how am I going to describe? I described it well in the one we can't use.
I know.
So the way I felt was that everything existed and nothing at all at the same time. And it was really strange because the nothing at all, don't take this as a negative. It wasn't negative. It was something that was very zen and very
Yes.
peaceful.
Yeah.
And I wasn't afraid of. It
Yeah.
was like finally, when there's 100 kids screeching at an event, and then finally you get to go outside and there's silence.
Yeah.
That's what it felt
The
like.
relief.
So it felt
Yes.
like that. It felt like some
Yeah.
kind of relief.
Yeah.
And anyway, so it felt like I was there for like really, really like I couldn't really tell. Like there was no
Yeah.
time.
No. Time and space is different.
And then all of a sudden I snap back into my body.
Okay.
And I'm standing in the middle of the road at 3:45 a.m. in the morning, looking around, going, what the fuck am I doing in the middle of the driveway?
So you
I
had no recollection
I
of
beat
even
it.
walking out
No.
there.
Well, it was like a dream.
Yeah. Okay.
So then I beat it back into the house. I like literally jump into bed. I'm terrified.
Yes.
And then the next day, I come downstairs and Michael comes back and says to me, what's happening? Oh my God, like, why are you going down the driveway?
At 3:30 in the morning.
At 3:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
And I said, well, it's because I seen something last night. You need to sit down. So
Yeah.
just 1 second, okay? I'll be right
Okay.
You can talk for a minute and I just have to readjust.
Okay, you're readjusting. So it's interesting because when you were talking about it last time, you were saying that how calm and at peace. And when I was doing all this research for today, it was very consistent that people didn't feel afraid when they've had encounters.
No, and people are taught to be afraid of these things.
Yeah.
It was very zen, very peaceful. When I snapped back to myself in the driveway, it was kind of a little like up here we have like mountain lions and things and cougars and stuff that are dangerous and wolves. And I thought, I'm going to get in the house. So anyway, when I sat down and talked to Michael, I told him all about this. And he said, well, I believe you. And I'm like, I said, well, it happened. I said, there's definitely something. I said, I don't know what it was. I said, I can't explain it. And I went and looked for the cell tower. It's down the road. So it's down the end of the road. You have to go down the end of the road and look from the other road, and then you can see it, but it's not blue. So
there's absolutely no way that's what you saw.
I had to backtrack and make sure that everything that I was seeing was connecting, and there were no other variables.
Exactly.
So I did that. And then a couple of nights later, we went down to see our friends, Sue and Mark. And we go down there regularly for supper. So we'll make supper and Mark will barbecue something and we have dinner together.
Yeah.
So anyway, we're having dinner and I'm thinking, I need to talk about this with somebody. And they're they're pretty safe people. I usually tell them, they know mostly everything about me.
Okay.
And I said, I got to talk to you guys about something that happened to me. And they're like, oh, what happened to you? And they thought it was something music or, related.
Exactly. They weren't expecting this.
So I told them the story and I could see them like bobbing their heads and not saying very much. And they're like, oh my gosh, wow, really? I'm like, and it's hard to tell people this stuff.
Yeah, because people think that you've gone nuts.
I told somebody that was really close to me.
Yeah.
That was really close to me. And they literally called me a psycho.
Yeah.
And it was the beginning of the end of the relationship. And it was tough. So anyway, when we get through dinner and dessert and we come home, and then the next day, it's around 7:00 in the night. It's the winter, so it's dark.
Yes.
I get this text from Sue and she's like, they're here with an exclamation point. And I'm like, and I text her back and I said, who? She said, those things you were talking about are in the backyard. And I'm like, what? So anyway, I get in the truck. Sue and Mark are about 15 minutes from here.
Yeah.
If you're, if
you're driving
there.
quick. Yeah.
I was.
Yeah.
And we pull in the yard and they're everywhere. There was a massive one. That's the picture of the one I sent to you.
Yes.
There was a massive one and it kept flaring. And then there was the little ones inside of it. And then they would break off from the big one.
Yep.
And then they would go peekaboo and they would flare in front of you like a big sun flare.
Yeah.
and then it would go
Boop.
it would go away, and it would be black, and then it would about 50 feet away, it would come back and do the same thing. And
Wow.
there was one that created four of them in front of us.
So it doesn't move like anything
No,
natural that
it's so
it
one of
wasn't
the
a plane, it wasn't the
no. Oh no,
exactly.
they were too close. They were
Yeah.
like within 150 feet.
And then the way they moved
Oh,
and
and they kept coming
separated.
closer. And Sue looked at me and she
Yeah.
said, I gotta say, Drake, she said, when you were talking about this stuff, it sounded pretty far out. She said, until
Yeah.
I looked out my back door, she said, and they were there.
I mean, seeing is believing. That's the
So
thing. Like,
I feel like I was drawn to them. Okay, that
yeah.
they took me out. There's one weird thing about this. I'm gonna ask you one question about me.
Okay.
I'm going somewhere. What is the one thing I'm not going to forget? That's really important that I'm using all the time.
Your phone?
Right. So why in the hell would I go out in the middle of the laneway at 3:30 in the morning in the middle of the winter when it's minus 30 without my phone?
It
I
doesn't make any
realized when I
sense.
woke up in the middle of the lane, I didn't have my phone.
Wow.
And that
So
was what
it was kind of like you were hypnotized in a sense.
in a
Like, is
trance.
that
So
kinda a
yeah,
trance?
and Sue
Okay.
told me, she said, Drake, she said, it's black. Like they have a big slope and like they live down
Yeah.
by the lake and they're on a slope. So you can't see their place. You have to drive down. And
Wow.
in the back of their cottage, it's black out there. She said, I never look out there. She said,
Yeah.
but they were going to watch TV. And I think she said she was making hot dogs. And she said, I actually was drawn to the back patio door. She said, I put the hot dogs down. She said, and I went to look out the patio door and there it was. She said, and I knew, she said, it was the exact same thing that you were telling us about a couple of nights before. And so it was really much a revelation
Yes.
to have my friends. And she looked at me and she said, I don't know, why are they here? I said, well, maybe they want you to know that I wasn't crazy.
That could be a big reason. How did she feel? Did she have that
Scared.
same sense? She felt scared.
She was a little afraid of him, I think. Yeah.
Okay.
She said, I don't know, because you can, apparently there's this thing called CE5. Do you know what that is? And Dr.
No.
Stephen Greer.
No,
So you
I
need to
don't.
look up CE5. It's an
Okay.
actual app where people can connect and then there's meditations. Apparently you can bring these things close to you. Okay.
Well, you know what was interesting? You had mentioned last time that you spoke to is this where you're going with this app? The woman that you spoke to, and she asked you, did you ask it for healing?
Okay. So this is interesting.
Yeah.
I don't always regard these things that we have, whether it be all these defects.
Yes.
I think all these defects are genetic experiments. I've always thought that.
Have you?
Yep.
Wow, okay.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm
So
really dry and I'm sucking on a one
Use
of my
water
homemade
bottle.
electrolyte things.
Yes.
So I have a subscribers group on Instagram.
Yes.
A lot of the guys, they listen to the show. And so I put that in there for them today. So because I think not just EDSers, I think everybody could use a good electrolyte all summer, especially in this heat.
Definitely. Exactly. We get humid here.
So what I've believed, so I have had a really strong Catholic upbringing.
Yes.
And then when they told me about this guy named Jesus Christ, I became I'm a Christie, admitted.
Okay.
I would love to be like most gays would like to be at the Madonna concert. I would have
Okay.
been like, I would love to have been at the Last Supper, girl.
Okay.
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 You're saying I'm a real Jesus guy.
Okay.
Just like the teaching.
Yes.
I do. I like the teaching that don't judge and, don't throw stones and don't be this and be nice to everybody and accept people for who they are. Mind your own business. That was the teaching. I'm kind of
Yes.
into that, Mother
Yeah.
Mary kind of into her too. Just saying.
Yes.
So the Catholic upbringing, but when they introduced me to Jesus,
Yes.
so Catholics aren't very good at putting what they actually believe into reality.
Practice.
Okay.
Yes.
So they think that they believe in demons and hell and all this stuff, but they don't believe that it could actually happen here.
Exactly.
Even though we have a lot of them running the USA right now. But that's a whole other story.
That's a
Whatever
whole
you want to
other-
call them,
yep.
call them what you want to call them. I call them
Yes.
demons. Anyway, they're Nazis. They're crazy. So I think that's part of this big evil wave. But when they told me about Jesus, the man who was nailed to the cross, who was then
Who
drug into a
died.
tomb, and
Yep.
the body was treated for part of the time, which was whatever they with spices and wrapped, and then there was a massive stone that took like 4 men to move that sealed the tomb, and then all of a sudden, this guy that was crucified gets up, moves the rock himself, gets dressed, and go on out and says hello to everybody and shows everybody the holes in his hands. And then all of a sudden there's this massive light that just levitates him into the sky and he disappears. And then he's supposed to go to the pearly gate place where St. Peter's there. And then he's supposed to take a throne and all this stuff. I don't quite believe that. What I do believe is that Jesus Christ was reclaimed.
Okay.
So
Do you think that he was like when we're talking about aliens and
yes,
in the sky and
yes,
like
that's what I believe. That's
okay,
my religious beliefs and my scientific beliefs, they do intersect. And I
which is
think
hard for a lot of people
they can't do it,
because it's complicated.
but if you think about it, that's really what it is.
Well, even in I mean, I grew up Catholic as well, and I think I've mentioned it before, but like it's the organized religion part, but I think the stories that are in the Bible all have validity to them and lessons to learn. But I think it's a bit hypocritical, like when you're going to mass and you're eating the body of Christ and drinking the blood of Christ. And to me, that sounds a little Wiccan, if you
It's
will.
ritualistic. It's all
It
born
is.
from that.
It is.
So it's all born from ritual.
Exactly.
It is
And
a
even when
ritual.
we're talking about like the fundamentalist Christians, especially in the South, and the rapture,
Oh.
when I heard that, to me, that sounded like an alien abduction.
Well,
I mean, I
I'm
don't know.
not sure about this rapture stuff. This is stuff that was written long after Christ existed by humans, and I'm not buying that stuff. The Bible is a book to me.
It is.
And if someone said to you, here's an account of hundreds of human beings, how they interpreted the world.
Yeah.
Here it is. Well, Jesus didn't sanctify the Bible.
No.
Okay, so God did not sanctify the Bible ever. And
It's humans that
it's
wrote
all
it.
human written. So
Exactly.
basically it's a mass. It's 300 people taken from Facebook and said, okay, we want you to write you a bunch of different verses now about what you think about homosexuals and what you think about prostitutes and what you think about your neighbor and all of this stuff. And some of these people were crackpots and some of them are not. And we know this is how it works. And this is
Yep.
what the Bible is. So it's a conglomeration of opinions and how people thought things should be and how the structure of society should be implemented.
Or to explain like supernatural phenomenon
Exactly.
that honestly have been going on for centuries.
I believe that the aliens were with the Egyptians. If you look at some of the hieroglyphic stuff, if you look back at these weird looking creatures that had the big heads and the weird noses and everything, they don't look human.
Well, you know what was kind of interesting was one of the Roswell things, the son of the man that found the debris that fell at Roswell said that there were hieroglyphics on this stuff that they had claimed. So, and also when you think about like how accurate things were cut and they didn't have that technology like thousands of years ago to be as precise as it was. There's so many different ideas of where these come from. Are they alien? Are they gods?
Well, what if that is one and the same thing? What if one of these things is the ultimate creator of this?
For sure. Because there definitely to me has to be something bigger. We know the universe is so vast that it's not just us.
Well, it's like everything in our genes. If you look at our genetic makeup, okay?
Yep.
There's no way that this came out of like a big bang and everything just was random. There's no. You can't. The scheme of life and the autonomy of the body and how the physics of the body actually work And if you look at the body in itself, the fact that everything we use in our lives, like cars and phones and toasters and keyboards and computers, all need a power source.
Yes.
We have an ultimate power source that runs for roughly about 75, 80 years and never needs to be recharged. It's a marvel just in itself.
It really is. And the other thing to me that's really interesting is that in the EDS community, there are a lot of us that have this sixth sense, like ESPN,
Yeah. So
that,
did you know why?
well, how I understand it is how our connective tissue is how our body communicates within ourselves, but also with the energy outside of us.
Yeah.
And so to me, it makes sense that our collagen and our connective tissue is different. And
Yes.
so therefore we respond and take in energy different than most. And I believe that that's why a lot of us have like psychic intuition, like a higher sense. Is that what you were going to say, or is there another explanation?
Well, they say that. Now, that is a great take. There's
Yeah,
obviously influences that come from every different sources here.
for sure.
And
We're
when
just
you are,
exploring right
and
now. We're not telling anyone what to
when you're
believe.
scientific spiritual,
Yes,
there's a lot to explore.
there is.
And I love being an open-minded scientific spiritualist. I
Me
I just
too.
think, and because it's like a puzzle, you're putting it together. You've got the
Yes.
physical component. It's like, okay, yeah, there's something that made all this, but on the other side, there's a grandiose thing. It's like, oh my God, who came up with this? It's like, oh
Yeah.
my, and then I start to think about genes and the study of the body and the things that I've learned, and I'm like, oh my God, this is and then I get blown away. I just get
Well, 'cause
overwhelmed by the idea that some people think that this is just random.
because it's not, and the other thing is, we don't know enough about how the human nervous system,
So
like,
here's
have
what
you
you asked.
seen.
So you asked me. With
Yes.
this is what I was answering.
Okay.
It's the nervous system. So what
Yes.
happens is, apparently, the sympathetic nervous system is the nervous system that tells you the wolf is chasing you.
Yes.
So if that system is activated at all times, then you know everything that's chasing you. And you're hypersensitive to everything that's going on around you. If
Yep.
you're in a room with somebody who's predatorial, you know. If you
Yes.
meet somebody that
It's
you're
a
kind of
gut
that you're
instinct.
suspect of,
Yes.
trust yourself. I've really learned that. So I do have this amazing sense of things that are to happen and reality. I've always been like this since I was a kid.
Me too. In a different way. Like, for me, it's more been, like, one of my earliest memories is waking up. I was probably, like, 5, 6 years old whenever we start losing teeth, and I thought that this being I felt appear to me. It was this light. I felt warmth. I felt safe. And I told my parents, I saw the tooth fairy. And they're
Because
like,
that's
yeah,
what your brain at that age, what you've been told it is. Yeah.
exactly. And then many years later, I hadn't told anyone this because honestly, I haven't told many people about my spiritual gifts and how they've
You're
kind of
telling them
deepened.
now.
I know.
Yeah.
As I've like honestly, the closer that I've been to the veil, the near death experiences, every time I get closer to that veil, my spiritual gifts amplify. And when I started down my Reiki journey working with energy, one of the first things that my new Reiki master told me was that when you were young, you were visited by an angel.
Hmm.
And that honestly, it blew my mind because it was
They knew.
something that never exactly. And so is it an angel? Is it an alien? Is it God? Is it, something else that we haven't even conceptualized or have no understanding of? There's so many possibilities. And can I also say, if you look at the nervous system as itself, it's probably one of the most alien
Oh,
structures,
I know.
right?
I know.
Like I'm just putting that out there.
Yeah. So they say that
Like it is.
one of the other theories about aliens and themselves is that, you know how the grays look weird?
Yes.
That's just a physical body. So one of the stories is that during Area 51, they had this nurse that interpreted with an alien. Did you hear that story?
Yes, I did.
That's
Interesting.
That's a super interesting story.
It
But that
is.
alien told that nurse that body was just a shell.
Yep.
That they live on a spiritual level. They are entities, and when they want to do something physical, they enter a physical body.
I honestly, one of my deepest beliefs is that we come from the stars, and we have things to experience in this life throughout our journeys and throughout what we experience and go through. But like, we're literally, our bodies are made out of the same thing as stardust. I don't think it's a coincidence.
No, the Pierces said it best. We are all stars.
I genuinely, and one of the cool things that I was reading or listening to was that they have found that every planet and different stars have their own frequencies, which kind of brings me to Contact, which was one of the movies. You're one of your, if not your absolute favorite movie.
That's my top. Like, I've watched 5 times so far.
Well, when I watched that, this is the other thing. When my dad had his stroke, he would look up at the ceiling and talk about how beautiful, like, he was out of it, but he was talking and looking and seeing like, it's so beautiful. And I genuinely, watching Contact, when they do come in contact after she goes through the wormhole and all that, and talks about how beautiful it is, and like, they should have sent a poet up, like, that just made me think what he was seeing was similar to what, the galaxies, the stars, like, where we actually come from.
Well, yeah, okay.
That's what I believe.
So I have a really interesting story.
Okay.
Something that happened to me. Like, first, this is what I would consider to be first contact.
Okay, yeah.
For me, anyway.
Okay.
So I came back from Nashville. Michael and I were sitting in, I'll never forget, we're sitting in the den of, we were living on the top floor. We were living in a penthouse, and we had gotten a great price on rent, and we just decided to take it. It was a 2-story penthouse. The den was downstairs, and we were in the den listening to the record. And when it was over, I passed out.
Really?
Like, really kind of like passed out, like head down. And when I passed out, okay, this is bizarre. My life's been bizarre, though. So when I passed,
experience.
So when I passed out, I was unconscious. Michael said he couldn't wake me up.
Oh my goodness!
I was breathing.
Okay,
he said it was like yeah, and so it felt like a long time that I was gone.
Okay,
but while I was gone, there was these things. Okay, so. And it was like I was kind of had my body, but it was the same kind of feeling that I had in the laneway.
Okay.
When they grabbed me in the laneway.
Yeah.
And they took me to this place, and it was this massive solar system.
Wow.
It looked like a massive solar system, but it had this huge ball of light. Like, I mean, so bright that you could barely look at it.
Okay.
And they took me there, and we were just hovering there. And there was, millions of little white orbs that were going around this massive center piece. And I looked at one of them, and it's like I could see them, but I couldn't. I could feel the presence, but I just couldn't tell what they were.
Yeah.
I said, "Where am I?" That's what I said.
Okay.
And they say, this is where we come from. Wow. And then I woke up.
I just got goosebumps. Really?
I woke up. I was drooling. I was snotty faced.
Wow.
I was like really emotional. And Michael's like, "What happened?" And I'm like,
"How long were you out for?"
"A couple of minutes."
"How long did it feel like?"
"A long time."
Okay. Wow.
Because it felt like I was traveling across a universe with these things.
Wow. Kind of like in the wormholes in Contact.
It was like that.
Interesting.
Yeah. And I thought, oh my God, I've got a brain tumor. That's what you think when these things happen.
Because we talk ourselves out of it.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
right, exactly. So anyway, that was first contact. Yeah.
So earlier, when we were talking about the 4 different types
Yeah.
of alien, and you said that you had been contacted or
With
in
one.
contact encounters with 2 forms, like, what would those forms be for you?
Well, I don't know whether it's 2 or 1.
Okay. It's hard to
So
tell.
I've seen these gray things,
Okay.
and the other things are just these whatever is in these orbs. Like
Okay.
the insanity of this is like I can't believe I'm having a public conversation about
I
this. It took
know.
me a long time, like to be able to, but the world has gotten so bizarre and so unfucking believable now
Yeah.
that I don't care anymore. That
What people think.
you have to live your truth.
Yeah.
And I know what I've experienced. I know what I've seen. And I'll take a lie detector test and I'll pass it because I know that these experiences that I've had were real.
Definitely.
I didn't tell you about that one. Yeah,
You didn't tell me about that one.
Michael
That's
will tell you about that. Even like the way he describes
wow.
it's even a little bit. He's like, oh, he
Well,
just
from
passed.
his
Oh
perspective,
my god,
yeah, it was
yeah.
probably pretty scary for him.
Well, I was still breathing, so he was trying to wake me up, I guess, and I was gone. I was completely gone. It was like my soul had been hijacked out of my body.
See, so I had a near-death experience in I was early 20s. I was in Mexico. We got our hair braided and I had the beads and we were in the pool, and for whatever reason we were deciding to like who can stay under the water longer, and my beads from the braids got caught in the sink. And I remember like my life feeling like it was flashing before me. And I then, again, similar to what I had experienced when I was like 5 or 6 years old, I had this light, this being appeared to me. And that's when, like, I don't know if they saved my life, but it felt like it very much so, that they unhooked me. And I had this experience. And from then on, I would get different visions of different things, like either warnings of people. I'd never like when I was younger, I didn't trust my intuition and those gifts.
No.
But the older I've gotten,
Yeah.
it's a part of me, and it's
So do you
like
think those
speaking to
2
my
things were
guides.
connected? Do you think the
I
early
I really do think that they were connected, and I think that whether it's angels or aliens or ghosts or my spirit guides or
what if it's the
you
same
know,
thing?
that's the thing. As a human, I think our human brains need to have words
We
to
have
like
to
explain
segregate
and
everything
labels.
and segregate
Yeah,
to
but I
be able to
genuinely think
yeah, no, I'm with you. I think that these things are connected. And when I did talk to my UFO friend Connie,
okay,
she's a psychic and a very, very person very much like ourselves. Maybe we should have
yeah,
Connie on the show. I think we
we
should have
probably
Connie on.
should.
Yeah,
I
I'll
like,
text her
yeah,
and ask her if she will.
yeah,
But anyway, Connie said to me, she said, Drake, she said, you've been sick lately. She said, I've been seeing your Facebook posts. I mean, Connie's been reading me for years. She's
yeah.
great at what she does. Um, I said, yeah. And she said, did you ask them for healing? She said, I'm like, I was so overwhelmed, Connie. I didn't know what to do.
Right.
She said,
Yeah.
well, she said, you can ask them to come back. She said, and then you can ask for healing. I'm like, okay. So I just keep on asking for him to come back. I have not seen this thing again. I have not seen it again since.
Well, you know what I found really interesting? I watched this documentary about like raiding Area 51, and all the people that had actual encounters with these lights and orbs and whatever they want to call them, they're aliens. They all said the same thing. To connect with them is the best way to do it is through things like meditation
That's
and
the
being
idea
out in
behind
nature.
CE5. That's the
Ri
CE5. Yeah.
So to me, like, as a spiritual practice, like meditation and grounding, like I use those daily as part of my spirituality and my practices. But to know, like, am I connecting? Who am I connecting with? But whoever that energy is, I've always felt very protected.
Yeah.
I felt um like a connection with something higher
Yeah.
and bigger than me.
Yeah.
And, but at the same time, connected to everything.
It was kind of that feeling that I had when that thing grabbed a hold of me in the laneway. It was like everything existed and everything was amazing. And at the same time, everything that had existed in 55 years at that point was right there.
Yes.
And at the same time, it was a big abyss of nothingness that was just complete peace. And I was like, okay. Oh.
But to me, when I think about like, what would it feel like? Because I've thought this before. What would it feel like to actually be a star in the sky? And what you just described to me is like that yes.
Oh.
That vastness, that calmness, that connected to everything, but also
just there.
A very awareness of
and then just being there. Witness.
Yes,
it was
just
like
being.
Witness. There's a good word. So I was witness to.
Okay.
Witness to a vast of nothingness that felt wonderful to me. It was like a vacation. When you go on vacation and everything you leave behind doesn't matter?
Because there's no heaviness.
That's what it feels like. It feels like that, but on a grander scale.
Yes.
It's
because I genuinely think that as humans, one of the things that we're meant to experience, because we're somatic beings, we feel. And I think whether it's aliens or our higher consciousness or whatever it is, wherever we come from, the reason we're here experiencing our life in human form is to experience the vastness of emotions that humans can experience.
Yeah.
And I think once we go back to that place, wherever that is, we don't have that overwhelm, because as a human, we get overwhelmed with emotions. And that's, I think, a significant part of why we're here and why our experiences are what they are in this lifetime.
I think you probably wrapped it up really well by saying that. I mean, that's how I can't say anything to that. That's what I believe.
That's exactly what I believe as well.
Pretty much. I'm pretty much like completely on par. I'm just looking for something here. Sorry. Because I know I showed you the other pictures. Don't you love how we kind of just like, it's kind of like we're having a WhatsApp chat and the world's getting to listen.
But I think it's such an interesting time because a lot of people, like the fact that you're able to take photos of what you saw.
Yeah.
When you look back to like the 40s and the 50s, when World War II was happening and we're on the brink of all this like nuclear technology and like what's happening with the human race at that time. And there you show me that it looks like a cell, what you saw.
So I'm showing Cristie the picture.
Yeah.
But if you look at it on your phone, it visually, it vibrates a certain way. There's a weird energy coming off these things.
We all have a frequency.
You should feel this in person. You should feel what this feels like in person. It's unbelievable. Maybe I'll put the picture of it on the Ben Snap and Chat page when we release the podcast. So if you guys want to see what these things look like, now this is a very amplified version of it. And what happens with these things is there's little orbs inside these things that break off. It's like this is the mother and it's got the babies inside of it and they break out and then they sunburst and they dance around in the sky. This was like a big show for Sue and Mark and me and Michael. We were in front of them and I looked at the three of them and I said, this is exactly what I was telling you guys about.
Yeah.
Now, it didn't grab a hold of anybody like it grabbed me, though.
Which maybe is why you had that experience first, because that was meant to be your experience.
Well, they might have done something to me. I don't know. They might have done something.
Do you think that they did something?
I've progressively gotten better since then. Now, I've also had my Atlas adjusted multiple times, like 5 times, and it's back in place. And I've had just recently had prolotherapy done to stabilize my spine a bit. I'm feeling okay. Like I don't know.
It's interesting.
I do feel like a different person since this happened.
Honestly, the more that my spiritual gifts, that's what I call them, deepens, it's true. I feel like maybe not, well, on a physical level as well, but I think the thing that has helped me most and that I've gotten from this is the mindfulness, like I was talking about, the meditation and
Yes.
those types of practices not only help me feel more connected to myself,
Or
but they
something.
do, yes, or something. And it does kind of fuel me. And it gives me this sense of like we're all connected, and our lives, whatever and however they end, is not actually the end. I feel like it's a transition
Yeah.
to something else,
I
but it
think
doesn't
what
scare me.
no, it doesn't scare me at all. I'm more than curious about what's going to happen next.
Yeah.
I've always maintained that curiosity. It's always been a part of who I am. And no matter what terrible stuff seems to have happened in my life, which there's been a bunch,
Yeah,
but
we've
there's
gone
always
through it.
been this that's kind of held this light up. And it's like that
Yeah.
lantern at the end of the hallway. You can just see it. You might be, might not have any energy to walk another like 20
Right.
feet, but you got to get to the finish line. There's that light at the end of the finish line. That's what this has been to me. And I think what they did, and I call them they, and I'll
Yeah.
often call them they. And when I speak about them, it's like I'm speaking about something I know.
Yes.
But one of the things that they did was when they took me outside of my body and removed me from wherever I was, whether it was in the den or it was on the middle of the laneway at minus 30 and 3:45 in the morning,
Yeah.
showing me that I can move outside of my physical self
Yeah.
and live, okay, and have
Yeah.
this immense sense of peace,
Yes.
has shown me something. So I'm not good at meditating, and the reason why is because of the ADHD.
Yeah.
But what I do now is that memory. So doing this, I had a very bad day today, by the way. Real shit fucking day today. Like terrible. So anyway, I can then, it taught me how to remember how I felt when I was in the laneway.
Interesting.
So when I remember about being outside of my own body and
Yeah.
experiencing something as an expanse being. So I felt large, by the way. You know how they say you're living
Yeah.
large?
Yes.
That's how I felt. I felt large and connected to something that was bigger than me, which made me feel large. It amplified me. So now when I'm in a crisis, what I'm sometimes able to do, as long as I'm using what I call my tools, my EDS tools to control this nervous system,
Yeah.
I'm able to remember that feeling. And that feeling helps me step outside of the chaos and everything that's happening in my conscious mind and to almost tap my subconscious a little, enough to get out of the chaos and go, oh God, you're a spiritual being living in a physical
Human
world that
body.
the whole fucking physical world has gone to
Yeah.
shit and like things are really bad. And it gets me away from that. And that's what I find this experience on a whole. That's why I'm not afraid to talk about it anymore.
Yeah.
It has benefited me to connect.
It's interesting because the way you're describing that, I've had out of body experiences as well, especially when I was going through my big surgery and I was definitely
Yes.
like closer
Yeah.
to the veil. To me, the way that what resonated to explain it for me is something called astral projection.
Yes.
And so I definitely had many moments where I felt out of body, but I was still very aware that there was a physical part of me.
Yeah.
But that soul or whatever you
Whatever it
want to
is.
call it.
Yeah.
Yeah. To me, I call it my soul. My higher self was above me.
Yes.
And there was this lightness. And like you're saying, like, you do feel larger than life. Like
Yes.
there is more to this than our physical
It makes this
experience.
whole being trapped in this body feel minuscule.
Yes. Yeah, it really does.
It's really
That's
humbling.
a huge thing.
It's
It is.
humbling. And, I used to have this, I need to be more popular. I want to get more visibility. And I'd be constantly like looking for outward validation
Outside.
for a long time. And ever since that happened to me, interestingly enough, I've never thought about this, okay, until now.
Yeah.
Ever since that's happened to me, I've done a lot less of all of that. Now, I still want to be present for people because I think it's important. Sure. It's Pride Month. Happy Pride, everybody.
Happy Pride.
and we're past Pride Month, but we just didn't really, we've been just learning all this stuff, and we didn't really think, and we should have been on the money, but we weren't. But next year we will have a specific Pride episode on June 1st. We'll do that for sure.
For sure. But we'll try to get one done for this month.
We will for sure. You know, but the one thing is that I'd like to be present for people. And, I'm an older guy. I'm 56 years old. I'm still doing stuff. I've managed to clamber my way out of a chronic disease and thrive. And, I'm still making music, and here we are making a podcast. And, I want to show people that it doesn't end. It doesn't have to.
It doesn't.
It have to.
Changes.
And I think the Z files, the things we've talked about today in this really interesting episode, has helped me immensely. And I hope somebody out there that's listening has had a similar experience that they can't talk about, and they feel like they've kept it in forever. Because it feels judged. It feels really, it's like an orgasm of all this spiritual stuff, So what's your closing thoughts? That's my closing thoughts. Thanks for everybody for listening to us.
I definitely love the idea of moving forward and doing more episodes like this, because this time we didn't even touch on any of our ghost stories. No. I think that's a pretty cool thing as well. But I'm very thankful for the connection to whatever it is that's higher than us.
Me too.
That I've had the honor of connecting with in the ways that I have. And I'm no longer afraid of being judged, because that's my truth. It's something that I experience, and I hope it resonates with people.
I
definitely
do
let
too.
us know.
Give us your comments. Contact us. I keep on hearing the X-Files. The whole time I'm doing this, I can hear the X-Files theme. I've got there'll be a trailer coming out with this.
Oh, we're excited.
It's going to be fun. We can't wait. So maybe this is going to be a regular thing. Let us know if you like this or not. If you like this, you want to hear more?
Yes.
We can have spooky guests on too. I mean, it doesn't have to. These are EDS. This is the eyes of two EDSers, looking at the world. That's what this podcast
and our experiences, right? This is a big part of our firsthand experiences.
We crazy, girl.
We are crazy. We definitely, whatever higher force brought us together, I'm very, very thankful and grateful.
I'm thankful too. I'm thankful for everything, because life
bends us all.
Catch you on the flip side, Cristie.
See you next time.
And thanks for being here with us today.
If this episode resonated, share it with someone who might need it.
And remember,
life bends us all.
See you next time.
And don't forget to comment.